Hey everyone, welcome back to Taproot TV. We are doing something really special. We're going to have a couple of episodes where we're going back to the basics. We're going to be explaining to you just what is root cause analysis and what's incident investigation. You know, we talk about it all the time, but does everybody know exactly what we're talking about? So Mark Paradies, the president of System Improvements and creator of Taproot, is here to just help us get through the basics of what all these mean.
And by basics, I don't mean stuff that's unimportant.
Right.
The basics are really important. And in fact, I've been on several industry standard-setting committees for incident investigation and root cause analysis, and it always sort of amazes me sometimes the disagreements on the basics and the disagreements on some of the how do you do things that people who should know better really haven't got the fundamentals right, and therefore, if you don't get the fundamentals right, you don't get the advanced stuff right. So I wanted to go over the fundamentals and make sure, you may disagree with me, but at least you should have a reason for disagreeing with me.
Well, it's kind of an age-old saying about when things aren't going the direction they probably are, you need to get back to the basics.
Yes.
So that foundation is incredibly important. Well, let's start with that. Let's start with the definition of root cause analysis.
Okay, root cause.
Yeah.
Before you can understand root cause analysis, you have to understand root cause.
Yes.
And back in 1983, I started working on root cause analysis. And what we discovered was there was no standard definition. So we decided we'd make a definition. We went around to all these experts and interviewed them. And we came up with I'm just going to read this.
Sure.
The most basic cause or causes that can reasonably be identified that management had control to fix. And that was our first definition, probably in about 1983, started in 1984. And that was a good definition. And we had lots of people consult on that, and we came up with that definition. And you'll find that, or versions of it, in a lot of different places now. And it comes back to that work that we did back in 1983 and early 1984, where we developed that. But we've gone beyond that now in Taproot. And there's reasons why we've gone beyond it. And I won't go through all the reasons. We'll put a link in there's going to be a bunch of notes along this in our website.
Yes.
And so if you'll go to the link that goes to those notes, I'll put another link into where the sort of the history of the definition. But eventually we got to an advanced definition, which is going to sound a lot different.
The modern definition.
The modern definition, which is a lot different than the old one. A root cause is the absence of best practices or the failure to apply knowledge that would have prevented the problem. And I could spend a whole thing just talking about the difference of those two. I won't, but needless to say, you have to agree on a definition before you can go out and find what they are or develop a system to define what they are. And that really is one of the biggest problems with root cause analysis is a lot of people don't agree with the definition or even have a definition before they go off and start finding them. And so they don't know what they're looking for, so how are they going to find it, right?
Those are two very different definitions.
Yep, very well, and there's a reason why they're different. I'm not going to go into that now. But we progressed, and we learned over about 30 years to get to the advanced definition and what it does for us. Now, by the way, neither of these definitions alone are enough to get you through to find root causes. It's just a starting point for developing your system, and so this is just a starting point. Then you go on from there.
All right, so let's talk about a little bit. What's the best way to find root causes?
Well, okay, so there's a lot of different models of root cause analysis, and I'll just start off with probably one of the most common is just asking the question why. And I've been on lots of industry standards committees, and one of them we decided that 5 whys was not an acceptable root cause analysis tool. There were too many problems with it. On another one, we had a couple of guys on the committee who were just really devoted to 5 whys. So once you get devoted to something, it's really hard to change your mind.
It's like a religion.
It is like it's a 5 why religion.
Right.
And so they couldn't get past that. So we decided we wouldn't define what were acceptable or non acceptable systems because they couldn't get by. 5 whys wasn't enough. But what do you need to have? That's the question. What are the things you really need to have, the minimum things you need to have to find root causes? And the first thing you need to have, which doesn't exist in 5 whys, but I won't say that another time, is you need to understand what happened before you start asking why.
Yes.
And if you don't understand what happened, you're not ready to find out why it happened because you don't have the information you need to understand why it happened. And so you got to understand what. And so whatever basic tool or whatever system you pick has to have something that helps you with that what part of the investigation, organizing that information and getting a good picture of what happened.
And that what could not be what you exactly thought it was at the very beginning.
Well, anytime during this, the information, you want this to be an evidence-based system, an evidence-based exercise rather than an opinion-based exercise. Right. So you don't want to start out saying, I think this is what happened, this is what I'm going to do to verify it. You want to start out saying, let's go collect information and let the story form, let the story tell itself. And so that what happened part's really important.
Yes.
Then once you've got the what right, you can then start saying, what are the problems? And we call those causal factors. And there's usually multiple causal factors that led to this incident.
Right.
And the incident's the bad thing that happened, right? We call it, we have put it in a circle and stuff we do, but it's the bad thing that happened, and there's usually multiple problems that happened along the way that says, what are the bad things that happened? So once we get that, then you're ready to find root causes.
Okay.
So some people would say this is the start of your root cause analysis, but we discovered that it's root causes of causal factors, not root causes of incidents. So you really need to take those causal factors and have some systematic method that guides you. It needs to help guide you to find root causes. And we found that out because we found that most people don't have a human factors or even an equipment reliability background, so they need help finding root causes. So you should have something in your system that helps guide you to find root causes. Finally, after you find the root causes, we discovered there was something called generic causes or systemic causes, and that is like saying going one more wire, one more step past the root cause to see if there's anything in the system that's causing these root causes to occur, so that if you can find that, then you can get rid of whole classes of root causes and improve performance a lot faster.
Yeah, because they're happening at different locations and stuff, all the same things.
Exactly.
So, did you have something else you wanted to?
Let me just finish this up. Because once you get the root causes and the generic causes, you're ready to develop corrective actions.
Yes.
And the other thing we found is people tend to do what they've always done for root causes for corrective actions. And that means they just keep repeating the same ineffective corrective actions. So once again, you need something to guide people to more effective corrective actions. And then finally, you're going to have to present this to management because nobody has the magic wand that can make all the corrective actions happen. You're going to have to get resources and approvals. So your tool needs to give you something that helps you present this to management so that you can get management approval and get these changes to occur, because making change happen is the whole point of root cause analysis. If you don't make changes occur, you don't accomplish anything. So that's the basics of root cause analysis. And I say basics, boy, some people say there's a lot of basics in there. But if you don't have that stuff, any one of those points, you can go astray, and then you don't get the results you want. That's the problem.
Something happens again.
Yes, exactly.
So you don't want that.
And that happens a lot.
It does.
People have a lot of repeat problems, and that's what the whole issue is, and that's why people use our system, because they don't.
Well, so let's talk about that root cause analysis training.
Okay, so even training, there's certain basics. Once you get a system, then you need to train people on it. Who needs to be trained? Well, you probably, obviously, the obvious one you think of is, well, the guy's doing the investigation. So you've got facilitators or investigators, depending how big the investigation is. If it's a little problem, it's probably a single person. If it's a big problem, it's probably a team. They all need to be trained. But then you've got to sit back and ask yourself, well, what about management? Don't they need to understand something about this? If they aren't trained, how are they going to know they're getting a good product? And if they aren't trained and don't agree with the same system, this may turn into hey, I want you to go find a rock. No, I don't like that rock. Go find me a different one, because they don't know what you're doing to find root causes. And they may already have their mind up what the root cause is before the investigation even starts. So you really want to have your management trained, your investigators trained. How about general employees?
I think that's real important.
If you bring them in to do an investigation and they don't understand what you're doing, they may assume this is blame oriented. They may assume lots of things. And the best story I have about this is we were down training in a refinery down south, and we had we were training a whole bunch of people, and the refinery general manager was coming in and giving the intro for the courses, and it was a real big important thing. So he was introing each course, and he'd tell a little bit about why they're doing this and that they'd had the wrong answer before, but now they were bringing us in through the training and they had the right answer. And at the end he'd say, does anybody here have any questions or have anything to say? And this lady stood up and she said, I want to say something. And she said, I was taprooted the other day, and I thought, first off, I thought it sounded like a root canal, and that sounded bad. And also I knew I had made a mistake that cost this company over $100,000. And I was pretty sure I was going to get fired. So this was not going to be a good day. And she said, I came in and I worked with these people, and by the time we were done, I could tell this wasn't just me making a mistake. This was things in the system that anybody could have made this mistake. And I really realized that we were getting to solutions that would keep other people from making these mistakes, and we would never have to have this happen again. So I want to tell everybody here, this is a real good process, and so this...
That's the key. That's what we want to have happening.
So it would have been better for her if she'd known about that before she went into the room, because then it would have put her more at ease.
Sure.
And you know, you want people to know this isn't about blame. You want people to know this isn't, we don't have our minds made up already.
Right.
And we're on your side. We're trying to make this so nobody else goes through this problem again.
And very often it's, you know, whatever led up to it was not her fault.
Right.
It did not have anything to do with her.
You can always blame people.
Sure.
That just doesn't get you to make much progress.
Right. Okay, well that deals with the training aspect of getting people trained. I did want to make a comment. We did an episode not too long ago, and one of the things about, you were saying general employees, well, very often those can be your first responders or your first people who would be your eyewitnesses to something that happened. So knowing a little bit about what may come, they may have their eyes on what's going on a little
Exactly.
better.
They may be a better person to interview because they observed better because they knew what they were going to be asking. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so root cause analysis software.
Okay. So any modern system has software for it. And you have that software for a whole bunch of reasons. I wrote down a whole list here, and gosh, it's a long list. There's a long list of things that software can do for you, but I'll just read off a few of these or tell you about a few of these.
And then we're going to link to them.
It allows collaboration between team members so that you can collaborate on something. You're not just off on your own. Somebody else can see where the investigations got to, get on the software and see how it's progressed. It puts your tools that you use, we mentioned there's tools for these things, in an easy to use format so that they're there. I mean, everybody's used to doing things on computers or their
iPad.
Their iPad or maybe even their phone. You know, they want tools. It gives you expert systems. I mentioned the expert systems. Well, you make those expert systems in the software. You can track your corrective actions. It provides your presentation tools. It gives you your data when you're done. You want to track this data and see what is the data telling you? Is this just an isolated problem, or have we had this problem other places? That's in your root cause data. And then management should be using this data to help them manage the business. So unless you've got software, that data is scattered around, and nobody's going to sit out and read reports or go through Excel spreadsheets or whatever. They want to have a good built system that works and provides that data that they need. So that's why you can say, well, software, why do you need that? It's because it becomes one of the foundational tools of your management to run the company. Nobody would say, well, accounting's just numbers. We can do that on a spreadsheet.
Right.
We don't need anything more than that. No, you want to have, sometimes highly complex, but good workable systems to be able to tell you what do those numbers mean.
Yeah, that tracking and trending to stop those things from happening in the future.
Yep.
It's just incredibly important.
And to track your corrective actions
Yes.
to make sure they're getting implemented, even that.
Exactly. So definitely software, I think, is very important.
It is.
Well, I think this is some really great guidelines in regards to all of this. Now, how do you grade your root cause analysis?
Okay, so how do you know if you got a good one or
Yes.
not?
I had several people asking me that at the summit. I thought it was excellent.
Then I will put a link in here.
Yes.
We've got, it's an Excel spreadsheet,
Right.
but sooner or later we'll get it built into the software, a grading system where you can rate or grade your root cause analysis. And we've got highly detailed rating factors that are built around those basics, so those things that I talked about at the start.
Right.
They're built around those, how well you did on those, and then you can say, well, that is probably a good investigation. And we've had several people try this, and you get an A, B, C, D, or F grade. Nobody wants the Fs.
Right.
And you can take that, and people. The good thing about it is, well, if it's a bad one, what do you do? Well, you improve it. But the really good thing is people can start to see, oh, this is what they want. Oh, I see what I'm supposed to do here. Oh, and you can coach people with this, and it provides a really good tool to constantly improve your investigations over time. So I'll put a link in on the write-up for this so that you can go download that Excel spreadsheet and you can try. And I'll also put the link, it'll go to a video where back in about 2016 I explained this. And so you can go watch that video too.
Yeah, you did a session at the summit.
It was a session, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a video of the session I did at the summit, I think in 2016, 2015, something like that.
So you can learn what he taught at the summit.
Exactly.
Perfect. Trending root cause analysis data is obviously very important. We've touched on that a little bit. What more can we know about the ways to do this?
Okay. The thing about root cause analysis data and what you need to do to trend it is that there's certain things you're trying to find with that data. And one thing it helps you do is find generic causes. And I'm not going to talk a lot about generic causes, but these are the more widespread issues. Well, if you can go back and look at your past incident reports and have some way of getting to that data and say, oh, look, this didn't happen just once. It's happened dozens of times. That helps you say there's a generic problem here. The other thing that people don't think about is, how do you know you've gotten better? You want to be able to measure that you've improved. And if you don't have some kind of data to use and some way to evaluate that data to see if you've gotten better, you really are just sort of like, well, I think we've gotten better.
Right.
But it isn't just trending lost time injuries. Although that's a good thing to trend, there's other things you can trend also. The other side of that is, are we getting worse? You know, if
you don't want to go that direction.
Exactly. But once again, the data should tell you that.
Yeah.
It should tell you if you're getting worse or not. And finally, whether you're getting better or whether you're getting worse, what do we need to be working on to improve in the future? What should become our future improvement objectives? Where do we need to focus our improvement attention, which is sort of along the lines of generic causes. That's what we need to look at. And so there's another piece of data you'd get just to look at that.
Wow. It's a lot of information on basics.
That's pretty well, and that's why I said it was basic, but it really, there's a lot of people who miss some of these things.
I can see
and then
that.
they just don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, I can totally see
and I'm not, it's not, okay, this isn't the first day I've looked at this.
Right.
I mean, when I started off back in 1983, I didn't know all this stuff. I think it was in the middle 90s when I found out about trending and all this data stuff. And heck, that was 10 years later. And so, when somebody first starts out, or maybe even if they've been doing this for 20 years but haven't been focused on it
Right.
really hard, they might not have picked up on some of this stuff. And it's like, oh, that makes good sense. So it's not like everybody just gets this when they're going through high school. They teach you about root cause analysis and all the things you need to learn. That's not the way it works. This is something you're going to learn long after you graduate from college, and when you start working on this kind of stuff as a real focus of what you do, you go beyond just asking why and start thinking about what do we really need to make our root cause analysis work. And that's really what the focus of this video is to give you some ideas about what you really need to make your root cause analysis work and where in your system should you be trying to focus. And this is an introduction. Go to the links that we've got on here. I'll put all these links to other videos we've done, to other books we've done, to other things we've done, so you can go out and get the more advanced information. But this is to get you started and get you thinking, I didn't think about that. That's something we may want to look at. I haven't thought much about trending. I haven't thought much about what our metrics are for improving. I haven't thought much about why we don't develop better corrective actions. And we've got information about all those kinds of things.
Yeah. I think this has been a great reminder. So many of our clients out there, this is not what you focus on day in, day out. You have a lot of them have other jobs they do and things like that, and so it's really always good to remind people because there's a lot to remember.
Very few people can devote their life to root cause analysis.
Every day we come in here for it.
They have to do an investigation once in a while, and maybe they get put in charge of developing a system for their company. But once again, they've got a real job. They can't focus 100% on this all the time.
And we know that, and that's why we try to put all this information out there to be a good reminder for you to help keep you on your toes and ready to go when something does happen. And hopefully you stop things from happening. Always our goal.
We haven't talked about proactive yet, but this is a whole another topic beyond this one.
Part 2 will come up. So
3 or 4.
3 or 4, yes. Well, we do appreciate you for joining us today. We hope this was some good information for you. And join us back here next time. I think we're going to talk about some incident investigations.
All right. Thanks, Benna.
Thanks, Mark.